Hey everyone, Mark Buckley here again, founder of FMA Strength Institute. We're on episode number 3 with the beautiful Ximy Gonzalez of the Bombshell formula. So today, we've got a really interesting topic to unpack with you. And I'm going to read it so I make sure I get it right. And it is all about the fairy tale body ideals and the fantasy of perfection. So the fairy tale body ideals and the fantasy of perfection. Now, for people who have been watching us over the previous 2 sort of interviews, we've been talking a lot about the bombshell in terms of what it stands for. And I keep going back to Ximy's catchphrase, which is, I look good because I feel good. And this is so important, looking good because you feel good. So today, we're going to start to unpack these ideas that people have around body image and beauty and how our idea of what is normal is so far removed from what is normal and what is healthy that people are getting really messed up. In fact, people are almost dying to look beautiful, which is a horrible way to put it, but it's true. The things that people do in the pursuit of beauty these days, it's like mind-blowing. So Ximy is going to help us really unpack that. And to do that, we're going to start off with something pretty interesting. And that's a saying that we have in FMA, right, Ximy? And that's, in order to interpret what is wrong, we must first understand what is right. So we're going to start this part of the interview by getting Ximy just to talk about when it comes to our ideas around beauty or body image, right? Before we start looking at all the things that are going wrong and how women are dying to be beautiful and taking this low road approach using methods that work against their body, not with their body, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, we're just going to take a step back and help people connect with, well, what is normal? What is an ideal that we should all be striving towards? So Ximy, thank you for being here again today, and I'll give you the floor.
Okay, so thanks so much, and I'm happy to be here again sharing this powerful information with all of you. And so, well, yesterday we were talking about the beauty spell, and we got deep into that topic, right? So today what we're doing is we're actually, like Mark said, we're going to be exploring these ideals and these standards, and like he said, we have to first understand, what is functional so that we can then really be able to recognize what is dysfunctional, okay? And so, in my definition and my understanding of the body, and in my slogan, I say, look good because I feel good. So today what we're gonna do is we're gonna understand, like what the body should look like and what the body should feel like, because most people are very disconnected from this. Okay, and so if we start looking at what we should look like, here's what I'm going to say. My definition of, beauty is not the magazine definition of beauty. My definition of beauty comes from the expression of health, the external or the aesthetic expression of health. And you can see this manifested in hair that grows naturally. Okay, you can also see this expressed in healthy, clear skin. And when I say clear, I'm not talking about a skin color, I'm talking about complexion. When we talk about beauty, I'm also referring to being in shape for your unique frame, okay? And this is one of the things that we're gonna really get into today, because they've given us like this standard of what, being healthy and in shape is, but we all have different body sizes, different body shapes. So this is based on the individual, okay? Then another marker is your mouth. Oh my God, your health really starts in your mouth. And the amount of complications that people can have with their health when their mouth is not healthy is massive. I don't have time in this series to go in there, but I have had many clients whose health issues really came from oral problems, okay? And so what is a healthy mouth? So a healthy mouth is when you have your teeth without decay, meaning without cavities. When your gums are healthy and they don't bleed, like they're just healthy, there's no blisters, there's no nothing. It's just healthy tissue. Your tongue is pink, is not white. All of these markers, and it looks beautiful, like when you have white, healthy teeth, and you have a healthy pink tongue, and and a glowing or healthy gums. These are all markers that we're healthy. Now, a lot of people, as we will be exploring, use, dentists to give themselves that appearance while their teeth are actually rotting. Okay, and so when you look at, for example, the work of Dr. Weston A. Price in the 1930s, and he went around the world and he was studying ancestral cultures, and he found like these were people that had not been touched by civilization. Okay, they were in their element, and he studied them and he looked at their faces and their bodies, and these people were like super, super healthy. And he was a dentist, so he was very interested in oral health. And what he would find was that these people had broad faces and they had enough space to fit all their teeth. Okay. Also, he found a tiny amount of cavities amongst the tribes. In some tribes, he didn't even find cavities. And these people didn't have access to dentists, toothbrushes, and this is attributed to the high mineral content and high nutrient content of these people's natural diet. So without getting too deep into that, these people were examples of beauty that came from health. Okay, so their teeth were one part of it. The other one was that they had enough space, their face was wide enough that they had enough space to fit all their teeth. And they had something called the rule of thirds, which was the same distance from your chin to the bottom part of the nose, from the bottom part of the nose to your forehead, and then from the forehead to the birthline. All suggested that you had proper craniofacial development that came from, again, having a well-nourished body. Okay, and he found this in every culture he visited, and he literally went around the world. So this is what I like to use as a standard of beauty. Now, if you look at a lot of these indigenous people, they may not be what, the magazine will tell you is beautiful. As a matter of fact, when Dr. Price noticed, he went to different areas, and the people who had already been exposed to white man food, they started losing that width in their face, and now the offspring, the children, were now born with long faces, and now they didn't have enough space to fit all their teeth, so they had crowding of the teeth. Because of the changes in diet, they had massive amounts of tooth decay. They were losing their teeth. And so their beauty in that context started to become compromised because their body was becoming compromised. All right, so this is just a very quick summary of that, just to put all this in context and what I am referring to as beauty that comes from health. Okay, so, and there was another marker that I wanted to offer, and that is healthy nails that grow, okay, and that are strong. And then also with your abdominal wall, like having a flat belly. Now, I'm not talking about a six-pack or anything like that, just flat belly. And like Mark can corroborate in a few minutes. Here's the thing. They have told us that flat belly or whatever is just, an aesthetic thing. And it's like a shallow thing to pursue, the flat belly. But the truth is that that is actually a marker of health. And I'm going to share why. So basically, when your belly is flat, it can suggest, and it's not in every case because I've seen exceptions. For the most part, it could be that the organs are healthy, they're in their proper position, they're not inflamed, there's not a lot of like fecal matter trapped in there for a really long time, parasitic infections or other things that could cause inflammation. And so we have a flat abdominal wall. When there's like a lot of inflammation or any of these things that I just mentioned, the muscles relax. And so they relax to give room to the inflamed organs or the contents of what's in that abdominal wall. Also, another thing that lets you know that that abdominal region is out of whack is if there is hormonal imbalances, and so there's excess accumulation of fat in that area. So even when we look at that, what we're understanding is, okay, so what is the body telling us, when these markers of health are not present? Does that make sense, Mark?
Oh, I'll come back on the screen. Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is fascinating. So many people have no idea how to be healthy. And, I call it the rotten apple syndrome. It's, everyone looks like these shiny apples, but they have rotten cores. They look really beautiful, but you take a bite and you're left with a real bad taste in your mouth. All right? That's the rotten apple effect. And this is what people are doing because people don't know based on that inner authority, how to actually parent themselves in relationship to body image, the relationship to the food they eat and things like that, right? They realize pretty quickly that they're not looking their best, right? Through everything you've said. So then we start moving into, okay, well, how can we masquerade it? How can we cover it up? How can we hide what's really going on for the person? As Ximy's saying, we can be around someone and in about 10 minutes, just by looking at the complexion of their skin, their eyes, their nails, their hair, looking at their teeth, also we use all our senses apart from vision, but hearing what they say, smell as well, their body odor. You can tell a lot about the person's overall health, vitality, and well-being. It's crazy. And we are stuck in this situation now where people are having to fake it because they don't know how to look and feel their best naturally, so they're trying to manufacture it. It's so important, guys, to understand how to really look after your own health, because how you are on the inside is reflected on the outside.
Yeah.
We talk about changing the game or helping people self-parent, right? If anything you want external to self, it's all about changing your inner reality in order to have that in your outer reality. It's the same thing for beauty. What happens on the inside really drives how you look on the outside. And this is why we're so passionate about this, because until you know how to self-parent and show up for yourself and stop outsourcing responsibility like we keep talking about, you're always going to rely on artificial measures to try to hide the damage or to camouflage the stink and the ugly skin and the brittle hair and the breaking, cracking nails and all the stuff that's actually your body as a barometer saying, warning, warning, we're not moving in the right direction. We need to start changing course. But people ignore it. It's as ludicrous as seeing the oil light on your car, which is telling you we have a problem, and you go, you know what? I don't know how to put oil in the car, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get some lipstick out and cover over that so I don't have to see it and hide it, and we'll just pretend that it's not there. Right? It doesn't work very well. All right. Was there something you wanted to add, Hun?
Yeah, what I want to say is that, when it comes to us managing our own bodies, the first thing that we need to understand is that, we need to understand not only, what is a healthy body and what it looks like, but also what it feels like. And that's what I actually want to talk about now. We've started kind of like bringing those two worlds together. And actually in the 7 Body Basics Beginner's Guide, which is my free program on my website, I have like a whole assessment that helps you connect with, are you looking good, like really coming from the inside? Do you have the markers of proper external expressions of health, and also, the internal expressions of health, which is more like, this is the look good, this is the feel good. All right, so I'm gonna talk about now, I've already talked about the look good part, now I'm gonna talk about more the feel good part. So, what should a healthy body feel like? Well, the best way that I can describe it is you shouldn't feel your body, but not because you're numb, okay? And the thing is that a lot of people are very numb, okay? So what I mean by this is that your body has something innate intelligence, okay? And it gives you biofeedback. It communicates with you through the language of symptoms. And it lets you know whether the choices that you're making are actually pushing you towards regeneration and you're thriving, or if the choices that you're making are pushing you towards degeneration and you are moving closer towards disease. Okay, and look at the word disease. It's dis-ease. You're out of ease. Okay, and so what I want to add to that is that you want to be very connected with this internal guide, which is your biofeedback. Because think about it, before the times of doctors and experts and all these people, how did we make it here without all these external authority figures telling us you're sick, you're healthy? We have to have some type of barometer, like what Mark was saying, that lets us know, if we are healthy or not. And our body communicates with us through the language of symptoms. A symptom, a negative symptom, is like a red alert. And it's also what Mark was saying. It's your body telling you, whoa, pay attention to me. There's something wrong here. But in our culture, what we do is we just rush in to cover up the symptom. And he was, I think, giving the analogy of having the light that you need to have an oil change come up in your car, and you just keep putting a little patch over it, ignoring it, and then, you know, the car eventually has other problems, you try to patch, and eventually it breaks down. The same thing happens with the body. So we need to pay attention not only at what our bodies are telling us through our external markers of health, which we already discussed, but also these internal markers of health that I'm going to start exploring now. All right, so one of them is you should be pain-free. Your body should not ache, okay? So that's one thing. Another thing is you shouldn't feel digestive upset. When you eat, your belly should not bloat, you should not be gassy, you shouldn't have acid reflux, you shouldn't have indigestion, like none of those things. When you eat, you should feel like your belly is flat and like you've had enjoyment from your meal, you're satisfied and you're good, and you don't even feel what's going on the inside as you digest your food. All right, that's another good marker of health. Another one is you shouldn't have like mood swings. This is a big sign of hormonal imbalance. All right, your mood should be stable. So we've talked about digestion. We've talked about like hormones expressed through mood. We've also talked about pain, that there shouldn't be pain. The other thing that we also need to look at is menstruation. For example, for women, like you shouldn't have like horrendous PMS and all these symptoms and your body going absolutely crazy when you're about to get your period. That's another sign that the body is out of alignment. And one of the things that I learned from one of our teachers, Paul Check, is he said, the body never lies. And I have learned that or have confirmed that. That is so true. We can make it fake, like we can fake things, but the body will always try to speak truth to us or to tell us what's truly going on. Okay, and all of these markers are the signs in which our bodies communicate with us. Okay, now another thing that is very common actually today is, you know, as I was explaining with the abdominal wall, the aesthetic component of the abdominal wall and it being flat, and what we're seeing a lot of people is with the distension and the bloating and the excess fat accumulation there. And again, it's either signs of digestive stress or it could be signs of hormonal imbalance as well, too much stress, excess consumption of carbohydrates, problems with insulin. So as I said, you know, everything goes hand in hand, you know, like how you look and how you feel. They are like one thing, but people have disconnected it, okay? And so this is what I'm presenting to you as a holistic perspective about the body. You know, the way you look, the way you feel, looking at these markers. The way that we're being taught to look at the body is very isolated. Okay, so you go to this person so they make you look beautiful. You go to this person so they help you with health. There's no integration. There's no there is that understanding, but this is not what is being presented to people. So our jobs as CEOs of our bodies is we need to understand the basics of our body so that we understand how to manage it. Why? Because everything you do every second of the day gives your body information that pushes it again towards regeneration or towards degeneration. Okay, it's your choices with what you think, what you eat, how much you move, or if you're sedentary, your sleep patterns, all of these things. This is what we call your lifestyle. All right, and so these choices that you make, this is what is going to take you towards health or towards disease. And as the CEO of your body, understanding this, if you understand this, you're going to be able to make the best choices for you so you can manage the corporation that is your body in the most effective way, and you can make the best decisions. But if you don't have an understanding of this, how are you going to make the best decisions for you? And the thing is, you are the one who's driving the boat because you're the one who's actually making those choices. You're the one who's putting food in your mouth. You're the one who's going to bed late at night or early at night, etc., etc. So this is all, my whole approach is just about empowering people, about understanding their body and understanding what they need to do to make it healthy, because those same things are the same things that are going to help it look good. And that is the message. You cannot separate them. They are one and the same, looking good and feeling good when it's actually an authentic thing, not when we are manufacturing. So I think that now, and what do you think, babe? Now that we have explored what is functional, what is normal, and again, like there's many more markers in the in the free resource in the program for you to do your own self-assessment. This is just a summary. And when I do it with clients, I go into huge depth with the analysis, of course. But this is for you to start having like an understanding, okay? And what you can start doing. So now that we've explored that, I think that we can get into the juicy topic about all the crazy things that, the ideals that people are setting for themselves as far as beauty is concerned. What do you think?
Yeah, I love that. You know, like I said at the start of this, in order to interpret what is wrong, we must first understand what is right. So it's very hard if you don't understand what health and beauty really looks like, then it's so easy to get seduced by these ideas that get presented to you. And one of the craziest things I've really come to experience over the last few years, especially in the fitness industry and working with a lot of the trainers and that, is that people have an idea of what healthy should look like. Unfortunately, a lot of people also have a very sort of misinformed idea of what health and beauty looks like as well. But the craziest thing is so many people have absolutely no idea what it actually means to feel normal, to feel good. And
there's no point of reference. Because
yeah,
they just have their point of reference of how they feel through all of their dysfunctional habits that they engage in, and just all the body going crazy, giving alarms and symptoms.
Yeah, and the problem is, remember I told you the other day, it's this cognitive adaptation theory, right? Our preference starts to shift towards that which we get repeated exposure to. So we're getting bombarded with these images of what beauty should look like, what women should look like. And all these associations are being built around these ideas of, if you look this way, you'll get yourself a high-ticket man. If you look this way, you'll be successful, you'll be confident. You know, and like I said, at the end of the day, it's so seductive because we all want to have the same thing. We all want to feel good. But unfortunately, because we don't know how to find happiness within, we look outside of self in the pursuit of happiness. And we lose our self-esteem and we replace it for others' esteem. We need other people to tell us how we should look and how we should act and how we should be in order to feel validated. Now, I'm sort of giving you a bit of a summary on the last two talks because we want to keep building this out. But remember, we have three minds. We have the reptilian mind or the paleocortex, the limbic system, and then we have the neocortex, which is the new brain that sits on top, that sort of separates us from the other lower order mammals and stuff. But when you look at the way that those three brains work, guess which one really drives a lot of our behavior? It is the reptilian brain. Right? We like to think that we are rational. We like to think that we're logical. We like to think that we make choices based on, you know, logic and reason, etc. But we don't. Right? Emotions drive us more than logic and reason. In fact, I introduced you to the idea of neuromarketing the other day. And neuromarketing figured out a long time ago that we buy based on emotion and then we use logic and reason afterwards to justify the purchase that we just made. All right? So think of that. It's so important to understand that. And that reptilian brain or that lower mind is taking in all the visual and auditory information to form its idea of self and its idea of the world. And when we talked about being a part of a tribe the other day, which is important, remember, we come into this world with a few basic needs or psychological needs. And some of the major players is the need for connection and the need to seek out or to be accepted and to avoid rejection. So we've moved towards being accepted and we would have tried to avoid being rejected because rejection meant pretty much death. If you go back to the tribal times, on your own, you could not hunt and build shelter and protect yourself and do all those sorts of things, especially if you got sick. You needed a community, you needed a tribe to do that. So we are so afraid of rejection. And guess what? Marketing knows this, religion knows this, right? Everyone knows how to use the fear of rejection to drive behavior, to get people in a line to do and act the way that you want, or to manipulate the buying motivation of people and the spending behavior of people. So all this comes full circle. We often have a lot of manipulation around this fear of rejection. So how does this relate to what we're talking about? Well, we are driven a lot of our behaviors through these paradigms. Remember we talked about enculturation through the child, our idea of self. A lot of people have this I am not enough, and we have this fear of being rejected. So what we see now is people externalizing their power, as Ximy talked about, seeking a sense of self, this other esteem, or how I feel about myself is how I fit in with the tribe, how I'm accepted by the tribe. I don't want to be rejected. So now we get all these visual images of what healthy and ideal women should look like. And it is so far from normal. It is absolutely crazy. And we get women coming in all the time going, can you please make me look like that? That is how I want to look. And it's so extreme. And remember we said, and we'll unpack this even more tomorrow, you know, to get these type of extreme results require extreme measures. And these extreme measures usually mean engaging in practices that work against the body, not with the body. And yes, we'll get you there, but you won't stay there. You're pretty much going to be throwing yourself under the bus later. And even though we have this conversation with women, they still go, I don't care, sign me up. I need to look that way. Because the fear of rejection and the motivation behind I am not enough, meeting that fear of rejection, will get women to pretty much die to look beautiful, as I've heard you say it before. This is why I love this article that Ximy talked about, you know, women are dying to look beautiful. So how extreme are these ideas now around what is beauty? Because from what I'm seeing in the fitness and health industry, it's getting pretty damn extreme. And there's a lot of manipulation, like I said, through neuromarketing to drive behavior, to sort of manipulate the spending behavior of people, pushing them into different directions. So what are some of the things that you've seen that come under this extreme ideas around beauty and health?
Yeah, I think that the first thing that we have to say is that, you know, connect with your body again and connect with your frame. That's always the message that I'm going to give you, okay? And now take that and think of yourself, okay, what would be the best version of me in a healthy, well-nourished body, okay? Based on, you know, a lot of those markers with healthy hair that grows, healthy skin, being in shape for my unique frame, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, with that in mind, now let's start exploring the the extremes. All right, so, you know, we know the obvious one, which is the whole thing with the skinniness. And this is like popularized by, you know, the modeling industry, of course. And keep in mind that this has been going on forever. Like, women have always resorted to all kinds of weird things in the name of beauty. So this is not like a new thing, and this is across cultures. But one of the things is being like extremely skinny. We know this obviously with the models. Now, that has been taken to all different levels. And by the way, there are women that are naturally very slender. Okay, and this is something that I was mentioning yesterday. You know, if let's say that that is a standard, and there are some women who naturally fit in that standard and they are healthy, but I decide that I want to fit into that standard, like I am voluptuous, I've got legs, I've got a butt, you know, like it'll be so hard for me. I'll have to like starve myself basically to death to get there, and I don't even think I'll get there, if that makes sense. Okay, so with all these markers of skinniness, like a few years ago, I can't remember exactly how long, there was this obsession on social media with this thing they called the box gap. Okay, so this was like if you stand with your legs together or with your knees touching, like there should be no skin touching in your legs and in between the legs. Okay, like so now all these girls are dieting themselves to death, basically, to achieve that box gap. And there are women who naturally have that. And there are women that doesn't matter what they do, that box gap is just not going to show up. All right, so that's one thing. Then they have this other one, which is when you lie down and let's say you're sunbathing. So basically the hip bones should protrude, and then you should have like the bikini kind of like sit on top of your hip bones, not touching your skin, because your belly is so sunken in. And so that one has a name. Can you remind me, Mark, of the name of that one? Because I don't recall that one very well, the name.
Yeah, it's called the bikini bridge.
Okay, the bikini bridge. So that's another one they're pursuing. And then there's this other one that Mark was actually telling me about. I hadn't heard of this one. So apparently you take your arm and you bring it from behind, and you try to touch your belly button with this hand, like wrapping yourself around. I have a tiny waist and I can't even do that, okay? Then there's, you know, like the showing of the clavicle bones. And then like naturally, like for example, like I have that mark where I'm very lean in the upper body, not so lean in the lower body. I carry most of my weight in the lower body. And in order for me to do that, like naturally, I just have it. But for some women, they would have to like really starve themselves in order to have that show up in their body. Or ribs, like my ribs just naturally show, you know. As I said, even when I have quite a bit of meat in my lower body. So, but then again, for other women, that's just not real. So why are we standardizing these things? Okay, that's for one. Then we've got other things like now with CrossFit becoming very popular, now we're going on the other extreme. So now sexy is athletic. Okay, so we're moving away from this. I mean, obviously it's still very popular and children are chasing it. And I sadly have to report that there are a lot of little girls who are developing eating disorders because this is the kind of stuff that they're actually seeing on social media. And, you know, and there's forums glorifying all of this nonsense. Okay, so as we were saying yesterday when we were talking about the beauty spell, just keep an eye on your children and do not allow social media or television to parent them, because they will really be downloading a lot of very painful memes. All right, so we have the extreme fitness extreme. So now this one is on one side is about being as muscular as you can. So one would be more like the bodybuilding type, getting huge, as big as you can get as a woman, and totally turning your body into more of a masculine expression than a feminine expression. So what do I mean by that? So men typically are much more lean than women, just naturally, okay? And also they are more muscular than us. Like, as a matter of fact, a lot of women are afraid of lifting weights because they think that they're gonna look like one of these huge bodybuilders. But the truth is, in order to look like that, the amount of work and typically the amount of drugs that you have to put yourself on to grow to that size. Like, I lift weights and I like to lift heavy, and I'm not a huge girl. That's what I'm trying to explain, because I don't have the levels of testosterone to get myself there. And you know, and other factors. Genetics plays a role too in some women, but I guess what I'm trying to explain is, like, there's this masculinization first coming through on size, but the other one is through the leanness. And so my understanding is that because we menstruate and our hormonal systems are a lot more complex, we tend to carry about 40% more body fat than males, okay? And this, again, serves an evolutionary advantage in case we're carrying a fetus and, like, out in the wilderness and there was a famine, we needed to have enough reserves to feed ourselves and the fetus. Guys don't have that. So they're just naturally much leaner than us. So women are trying to get themselves to these crazy low body fat percentages that wreck their hormonal system and wreck their bodies. And Mark has a lot more experience with this. Because he has worked with, you know, bodybuilders and fitness competitors. And before I pass it on to him to talk about this, let's talk about the other two. So we've talked about the bodybuilders, which are huge and extra lean. Then we've got what they call bikini, which is not big, still muscular, and extremely lean, okay? And then we have, like, for example, the more athletic ones, and they're like a middle ground between those two. So I'd want to now pass it on to Mark, because, as I said, he has more experience with that department. And by the way, what we're seeing in these expressions, I'm mentioning women, it's also very much related to men. Do you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, to me, my concern always comes back, and I touched on this in the first interview. When anybody comes to me and says, this is my goal, this is what I want to become, the first thing I always want to know is, do they have a healthy or unhealthy relationship with that goal? Because, like I said, most people are coming in today with a very unhealthy relationship with body image and a very unhealthy relationship with food. So trying to push people towards these goals is often moving them in the completely wrong direction. People have this idea of what is normal, and like I said, it's so far removed from what is normal, it's getting scary. So when we get women coming in, and they're saying things like, yep, I want to look like this. And it's a woman who's shredded and she's got the abs and all that. Right? We're talking about extreme results. Now, for every goal, there comes a commitment, sacrifice relationship. Right? There is a certain level of commitment needed and to achieve that, and a certain amount of sacrifice needed to achieve that. And most people have no idea of this commitment to sacrifice relationship. And the other thing they don't realize is that only a few can really achieve these extreme results. And when you try to chase something which is so far removed from what you're actually capable of achieving healthily, it means now then you fall into that low road approach. And that low road approach is, in order to achieve this, then I must engage in practices that work against my body, not with my body. They get seduced by using supplements and certain sort of pharmaceutical interventions and things to help speed up the process and push their body to a level of leanness or body comp that they could not achieve on their own.
Right,
and,
which is what we're going to be discussing tomorrow.
Yeah, and this always comes at an expense. So tomorrow I'm going to talk a lot more about that, but just realize one thing, you know, when I get a female coming in who sees one of these images and they say something like, I want to get my body fat sub 10%, like below 10%, right? They don't have any idea what they're actually asking. Now, to give you an example, if you look at Olympic athletes, and there was a study on the body fat composition of female Olympic athletes in the 100, 200, and 400 meters. On average, their body fat, and you remember these women are pretty lean, you see them in the Olympics, around, 13.7%. So we get these women coming in going, I want to get sub 10%. They don't realize that, give or take, a woman needs to have at least around 12% for survival. Okay, give or take, depending on what research you read. But they're talking about these crazy numbers of leanness that they see these aesthetic or these body comp, competitors on stage achieve. And if you ask anyone that competes to get that level of leanness and that level of dryness, it is horrible, right? The build-up. Now, I know that there's some good trainers out there that minimize the risk and minimize how painful that process is. But the general rule of thumb is that it's a horrible process. And then what do you see these people do afterwards?
And Paul, sorry, that's like the very elite and very few trainers that would know how to even do that, with the minimum amount of stress to the body. But the majority of people that are chasing that, they are just like thrashing themselves.
Yeah. So this is the problem. Now, tomorrow I don't want to go too much into it, but we're going to talk about the side effect of this, and that's what's called learned helplessness and what that means, and how that's setting the stage for somebody to pretty much start to become very familiar with failing. And when you look at the cause and effect relationship in life, they kind of position themselves on the effect side of life, meaning what happens to me is because of me, I'm at fault, I can't do this, I can't change this, and they get very, very stuck in a place of disempowerment. And I'm going to show you how this negative cycle really plays out and how people are getting pushed through towards learned helplessness because of the images and the standards that we're projecting into these young minds. Remember, this programming starts in the minds of these little girls, right? These little girls are getting these images and these ideas about what is enough. And remember, they're losing their self-esteem as they replace it through others' esteem, and they start trying to achieve these ideals that they cannot actually achieve. And that creates failure and learned helplessness, which I said I'll talk about tomorrow.
Sorry, something that I wanted to add there, sorry to interject, is that what also a lot of people don't realize is that when they look at the pictures of these girls that are in that level of leanness, they don't look like that year round. No. Like this is just like a few days, and they have worked like you have no idea to get to that. Like there's people that are genetically more gifted and they, don't have to work as hard for it. But for the average person, it's like horrible cycle. Like I've heard stories. I used to have a gym, a studio in Miami, and I had a business partner who was a former bodybuilder. And this is a male, and he would tell me that he would go out with friends, and he was like literally living on chicken breast and broccoli. And he would go out to dinner with his friends, and he would literally come home to cry. And that the day when he came out of the diet, like after he competed, he went on such a binge that he ballooned like, I can't remember if it was 20-something, 30-something pounds over a weekend. And he told me that he felt like his skin was going to pop up because he just filled up with fluid and liquid. And it was just like the most horrible experience. So for what? So that you can stand up and, and again, I'm not going to dismiss or discount people and their choices, but what I will say is this, for what, so that somebody can stand on a stage to have a whole bunch of other people who have these distorted ideals as well of the body, and let's face it, that's the truth, and tell you that you're not good enough yet after all the work that you have done. Like, this is what this is, the psychology of this. And this just wraps people up in this very painful relationship. You know, so they go and they beat themselves up more. And each time getting there can be harder and harder for some people. And also, after you've seen yourself in that level of leanness, anything else after that, for some people, just becomes obese to them. And so they start obsessing with these measures to maintain that level of leanness, like, all the time.
Yeah. And this is such a damaging cycle. So like I said, tomorrow I'm going to really unpack that and talk about the punishment-reward relationship you have with food, learned helplessness and all that. That's going to be a big one tomorrow. There's a lot of real big nuggets coming your way. But, you know, we need to just be aware, guys, that the thing that I love about what Ximena does is that she understands that to look your best, you must feel your best, right? And as we keep saying, I look good because I feel good. And the power now is understanding that this is a multifaceted approach. A multifaceted approach is coming at it from the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual levels, right? You will not look your best and feel your best just through diet alone. So having these ideas that I need to starve myself and get my body weight down so I fit this certain type of look is going to take away my problems. It won't. I'm telling you, it's just a means to an end. People have it backwards. They think, if I can achieve this body weight, then I will feel good about myself. Right? I
call it the one-way ticket to the promised land of perfection and success and money and love. And, you know, that's what they sell, is that once you get there, you're going to get all of that. So people equate looking a certain way to all of these things that I just described. And that's why they're willing to give themselves up for it.
Yeah. So to make a note, now we're giving you different tools. You know, the last couple of days was all about learning how to self-parent, how to become an expert in you. It was all about healing your painful relationship with food and body image. So we talked about the power of self-parenting and things there. But we're just going to give you another sort of element here, and that is to really look and feel your best is a multifaceted approach. It happens at the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual level. It's not just about a diet. It's not just about going and getting cosmetic surgery, you know.
Or killing yourself with exercise.
Yeah, getting Botox or getting breast implants or butt implants or getting your stomach, you know, remodeled so it looks like you've got six-pack, which Ximy told me about that they do, which is crazy. Or thinking that the solution is going to be high-intensity interval training with starving yourself to lean up. Okay, this doesn't work. I've been in the industry long enough to know that these extreme measures will give people, based on what's called hedonic adaptation, a temporary fix where they look better and they go, I feel better, but it never lasts, because true healing, your relationship with self, is about the inner work, not the outer work or the outer patchwork we do to try and hide and put a mask on to try to hide the shame and the guilt and all the fears that we have, right? It's inner work. It's multifaceted. Now, go check out, you know, the bombshellformula.com, because Ximy has the 7 body basics here. This is free. It's a multimedia program. You get the manuals, the workbooks, and you get to watch the videos where Ximy's going to walk you through very quickly what she's going to explain now, you know, the multifaceted, holistic approach to really look and feel your best. Because so many women meet Ximy. She's in her 40s. She is very minimalistic. What was that term that you used?
For what?
For how you don't wear a lot of makeup and all that. There was some cool word for minimalism.
It's just boho chic. I don't know, like it's just minimalistic, boho chic. Like I don't know.
She's like, she can go from looking really glamorous with minimal sort of, you know, cosmetics, but most of the time she's just very, you know, boho chic, whatever that word is, and she's on the beach with her hair tied back, and she just looks and feels good all the time because she's living a life that's authentic and true to her. Right? It's multifaceted. So the reason why I'm sharing this is because a lot of people come up to me and go, how do you do it? Like, what is your lifestyle like? How do you, you know, live? What do you eat? What do you do? What is your beauty secret? And it's actually really simple. It's just the 7 basics, which is your relationship with number 1, power, right? That inner authority and learning how to self-parent, and then how you heal your relationships with food and movement and sun. So Ximy, just want to quickly explain that to everyone. And like I said, go check it out at thebombshellformula.com, get free access to it, and enjoy what she's going to share with you.
Yeah, basically, I'm just going to teach you how to reconnect with nature, because at the end of the day, you know, like my teaching is where are you going to draw wisdom from? You know, if you're going to remove yourself from all this nonsense and all this noise that's out there, where are you going to get the truth from? You're going to get the truth when you learn how to listen to your body, understand what it's telling you, and connect with it. You're also going to get the truth when you understand nature and how nature is so critical for health. It's the foundation of health, and how you need to manage your body in relationship to nature. So this is critical, and this is the focus of the book. But there's something that I want to mention before we go, you know, like just to kind of close off on this topic of body image. And that is that we've discussed, you know, the leanness, we've discussed the skinniness, but then I also want to mention the cosmetic surgery, because now this has taken things to a whole new level. Like the way that women look with all the work that they get done and the breast augmentation, like a lot of women are seeking this very, very, very skinny body with huge breasts. That is something that is not like truly realistic in nature. I mean, you can get a few women that may have that, but it's very, very rare. Remember, the breasts are fat. And when you're extremely lean, you know, or extremely skinny, one of the first things that starts to go is the breast. So this is not natural in a woman's body. Now, also, the other thing I want to say is, because we're cyclical beings, us women, we will hold on to more water weight depending on the time of the month that we're in. So we can't expect to look the same weight all the time. And then I want to go into another extreme, because although we have explored, you know, these are the more common, there are other women who want to go into extreme voluptuousness. And so it's not just the breast, but it's also fake glutes. And there was a story recently that a girl was squatting, she had the fake glutes, and her butt popped in the gym. And apparently it was like this horrendously painful thing that happened. I'm not sure exactly how it happens. I'm not sure exactly what they put in there. But we touched upon yesterday a little bit about the concern with some of these cosmetic procedures and putting foreign objects in the body. And tomorrow we can get more into that. But just look at all the things that are being done, and you just see the woman standing there, but you don't see the pain that she went through after a surgery, the complications, the this and that. You just see, you know, like the ideal, and that's it. But you don't see all the pain and the reality behind it. Like I said, I've worked in the entertainment industry. I've seen so much stuff, and all that glitters ain't gold. That is just so true. And there's one more thing. There's another extreme, which is women who not just want to achieve this level of voluptuousness with cosmetic surgery and stuff. There's women that actually want to look obese. Okay, so we've got the one extreme, and then we've got the other extreme. And women that will feed themselves as much as they can because they want to weigh 300, 400 pounds. And this is fueled by a relationship that they have with a partner that is motivating them to do that so that they become sexy to them. And so the relationship that they establish is that, what they call this? Fatties and feeders, or something like that?
Fatties and feeders.
Fatties and feeders. And this is the relationship that they establish. So on one extreme, we have, you know, pushing our bodies to these extremes. And we all know that, you know, eating 20 waffles a day and, you know, all these things is obviously not good. And carrying around excess fat can just basically destroy your life. You know, we're talking about women who want to weigh 300 pounds, etc. And then we have the other extreme, and it's women who want to have all their ribs showing, all their bones showing, and then they just starve themselves. And then there's the other ones that want to grow their muscles so huge that they want to like now adopt more of a masculine physiology, and some want to be so lean that you know, that it's compromising, you know, their hormonal system. A lot of these women do not even menstruate. So, you know, everybody's obsessed with these looks, but how do these people feel? You can't see how they feel on a day-to-day basis, you know, because that is actually not for show. And if it is for show in one way or another, now we have tools to edit ourselves and, you know, delete it from social media, etc. But just think of that. What price are these women paying? You don't know that. And this is what you are chasing. My invitation is look good because you feel good. Start working on building your health, and your physical appearance will be a side effect of that work that you're putting into yourself. This is what I teach through the 7 Body Basics Beginner's Guide. This is like an intro. And then if you want to become like a pro at it and become an expert in yourself, this is when we go through the 12-week program. But this is the message, is understand your body, not just with what you need to do to nourish it, but also with what is a healthy body for you. Okay, and that is, you know, all shades of gray, because we're all so different. Embrace your uniqueness. You are beautiful. You're awesome. When your body is healthy, your body will glow and you will be able to shine. When your body is not healthy, your aesthetics is going to show that too. They go hand in hand. That is the most important message that I can give to you. Always monitor how you feel. And also, because most people are so non-disconnected, or they feel horrible on a day-to-day basis, they don't have that point of reference. But I help you get to that point of reference of what it truly feels like to feel good, so that then you can start, you know, testing other things, and you go like, oh my God, like when I live this way, I feel amazing. And when I do this, wow, I feel horrendous. And this is what all my clients report is like, I don't understand, you know, how I couldn't see it before, that when I ate these things, you know, it just irritated me, it bloated me, but I didn't feel it. I wasn't aware of it, or it did this to my skin, or it did that. It's just you connecting with yourself so you can parent yourself effectively. So that's what I want to close today with. And then tomorrow we're going to get more into the consequences of engaging in extreme ideals, or in extreme practices to achieve extreme ideals. Today was more about those extreme ideals. Tomorrow it'll be more about the practices that women use to get into those ideals, the consequences.
All right, awesome. Great point great part to finish on, because I've just got a little battery now flashing. So great, beautiful closing. So bombshellformula.com, go get it. Start with the 7 Body Basics and get all this information and videos and workbooks. It's your free gift, because again, to look and feel your best, it is a multifaceted approach. Right? It's physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Take your power back, learn to think right, and then follow that with learn how to act right, how to put, you know, what path to follow, steps to take to get to where you need to be, so you can be your own bombshell that does look good because you feel good. All right.
And last thing I want to say is check out the other 2 interviews. Check out the other 2 interviews, because it's going to give you a foundation to everything that we've spoken about today.
All right. Now we definitely got to go. All right, guys. Thank you for spending your weekend with us. Much appreciated. All right. See you tomorrow if you're still keen for more. We got a lot of great stuff to say. Look, tomorrow we get into the low road approach, this whole concept of learn helplessness, and how we need to flip it into learn optimism and stuff to really start changing people's lives. So we'll see you tomorrow. Ciao.